The soldiers who escaped Black Ridge found themselves haunted by something far quieter than nightmares. It started with breathing patterns that didn't match their own, soft exhales in empty rooms, subtle inhales when they lay perfectly still as if someone else shared their lungs. Their reflections began to blink half a second late, leaving a sliver of hesitation in the mirror that made them question the boundary between skin and shadow. Some reported that when they woke in the middle of the night, they found their lips moving silently, forming words they couldn't hear. Doctors blamed stress, war trauma, hypervigilance, but deep inside, the men knew that silence was only ever a visitor, and it had followed them home. Lieutenant Marcus Hale, once decorated for bravery, now lived alone in a remote cabin, far from cities and forests alike. He had begun recording himself sleeping, desperate to understand. On the third night, the audio captured a second voice overlapping his, matching tone, breath, rhythm, but whispering questions in a language no human throat should form. Hale burned the tape, but the whispers remained etched into his walls, echoing faintly at dawn. He stopped speaking altogether for months, afraid that every word he uttered fed the thing that used his voice as bait. Locals claimed they saw him talking to someone unseen at the edge of his property. When approached, he simply smiled, eyes unfocused, as if he were only half present. Across the ocean, Private Elias Carr vanished during a routine psychological evaluation. Security footage later revealed something horrifying. A second silhouette entered the room, identical in shape and posture, moving milliseconds after him, like a puppeteer testing new strings. But when investigators examined the recording frame by frame, the second figure had no face, just smooth emptiness, a hollow outline filled with static. Even more unsettling, the audio captured overlapping voices whispering the same sentence, "Come back, you forgot something." Authorities dismissed it as corrupted footage, but technicians refused to work on the file after one reported hearing the whisper behind him, even in a soundproof booth. Hospitals, bars, libraries, the men scattered anywhere they could to drown the silence. Yet silence followed. They found messages carved into frost on windows, breathed onto mirrors, etched into condensation. "We learned your voice, now learn ours." Some noticed words they didn't remember writing in journals, handwriting identical to their own, describing dark corridors beneath forests, tunnels lined with roots that pulse like veins. It was as if the hollow echoes were inviting them underground, back into memory's skeleton, where identity frays. One soldier, Corporal Drexler, finally broke. He returned to Black Ridge armed with floodlights and recordings. Locals later reported seeing flashes of light deep between the tree trunks, followed by a chorus of whispers rising like wind through a cathedral. When search teams arrived, they found no trace of Drexler, only his boots, neatly placed beside a tree whose bark bore fingerprints pressed deep as though memory itself had weight. Soil samples revealed something impossible, neural tissue woven into the roots as if identity had been fed to the earth. By now, stories of the hollow echoes spread among military circles. They warned rookies not of bullets or blades, but of forests older than language, places where the earth remembers too clearly. Those who study ancient folklore discovered something chilling across cultures. Myths in Scandinavia of self-callers, spirits mimicking voices to lure travelers. Navajo legends of echo walkers in canyons. Siberian tales of forests that borrow souls through repetition. Everywhere humans have walked, something has listened.
Governments quietly attempted an investigation. Drones vanished, audio devices fried. The forest resisted knowledge as if jealous of its secrets. Satellite scans showed unnatural warmth beneath the soil, pulsing like a heartbeat. Officials classified the area, forbidding entry. But satellite microphones, experimental high-range audio collectors, captured a sound never publicly released. Thousands of overlapping human voices murmuring in perfect synchronization, as if chanting memory back into bone. And now, veterans of Black Ridge find themselves drawn together, compelled by dreams of root-thick chambers and whispering stone. They gather in silence, eyes hollow, staring at forests from afar. Some swear they can feel the whispers growing louder with each passing year, not just in their ears, but in their bones, rewriting memory like ink bleeding through paper. Their families speak cautiously of late-night phone calls where their loved ones repeat phrases in voices that sound slightly off, like a poor imitation learning how to be human. Doctors now classify it as echo-induced identity fragmentation, a term that sterilizes something fundamentally ancient. But behind closed doors, they admit they don't understand. How could they? You cannot cure a voice that isn't yours. You cannot silence something that knows your breathing by heart. Black Ridge remains cordoned off, guarded not by fences, but by fear. Travelers who approach report hearing footsteps behind their own, perfectly timed. Some claim that when the wind dies and the forest goes still, they hear a whisper exhaled behind them that matches their voice, but deeper, hungrier. And if you ever find yourself alone at night, in a quiet place where trees bend as if listening, pay attention to your breath. If you hear a second exhale matching yours, leave immediately. Do not look back. Do not answer when the voice calls your name. Because the moment you acknowledge it, something ancient learns your pattern. And once it does, it follows. Not for your flesh, not for your life, but for your memory, your identity, your voice. And when it finally speaks in that perfect imitation, you'll realize the most terrifying truth of all. You were never alone. You just didn't know which whisper belonged to you.